Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Joanna Ho. Here's a look at tonight's top stories. The border with the mainland will reopen soon, John Lee declares on his return from Beijing. New COVID cases in Hong Kong keep climbing as the health chief blames misinformation for a low vaccination rate among the vulnerable. And Christmas revelers in the city get ready to party after missing out in the last 3 years. Chief Executive John Lee has returned from his duty visit to Beijing, bearing good news. On his arrival this afternoon, Lee said the central government has given the green light to fully reopen the border with the SAR.
我宣布好多市民都期望嘅消息。第一，同內地通關可以實現啦。
I announced that the much-awaited reopening of the border with the mainland can now be achieved, said Chief Executive John Lee, who met the press at the airport this afternoon to sum up his first duty visit to Beijing. Lee said the central government agreed that the border be fully reopened in a gradual and orderly manner. A task force led by the chief secretary and including members of all 15 government bureaus will coordinate with their mainland counterparts for a smooth opening, Lee added. Officials will begin discussions with authorities in Guangdong and Shenzhen on cross-border details, including quota limits.
報請中央審批，予以喺1月中之前落實。
Lee pledged to finalize a proposal as soon as possible and then seek approval from the central government. He hopes the opening can be implemented in the middle of next month. Foreseeing a huge influx of travelers from both sides in the initial stage, a progressive approach must be adopted to avoid chaos, he added. Lee assured that the plans will be formulated in a way that can balance social needs and COVID risks on both sides. He also promised a warm and prosperous 2023 for Hong Kongers. After ending his press briefing, Lee went to government headquarters to host a high-level meeting. Hong Kong's daily COVID caseload has continued to rise, reaching a fresh 9-month high. There were 21,362 new infections today, an increase of more than 1,100 from yesterday. The tally includes 902 imported cases. Another 39 people died from COVID. Health Chief Lo Chung-mau, meanwhile, has blamed people who spread wrong information about COVID jabs for the low vaccination rate among high-risk groups.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of misinformation in the media and in the community about the adverse effect of vaccines. A lot of anti-science, anti-vaccine propaganda, which unfortunately is creating a hesitancy in our elderly in getting this vaccine. We hope we can all work together to remove all these misinformation and hurdles and try to encourage our high-risk population, as well as especially our young kids and the elderly, to boost up the vaccination rate as soon as possible.
Health experts in the mainland cities of Qingdao and Dongguan are bracing themselves for a COVID surge. Macau is also monitoring the pandemic situation closely, with many medical staff falling ill. Janice Low reports.
Mainland cities have been hit by a surge in COVID infections. But with the government deciding to report only symptomatic cases, the tally of new infections yesterday was 4,103. That number was dwarfed by cases in the northeastern port city of Qingdao. The city's health commission reviewed that between 490,000 and 530,000 infections were being reported every day among its population of 10 million. According to Health Chief Bo Tao, the peak has yet to arrive. He expects infections to escalate by 10% in the next 2 days. In Shanghai, the authorities urged residents to stay home this weekend to avoid contracting the virus after the country abruptly abandoned COVID restrictions. Closer to Hong Kong, it's estimated that roughly 250,000 to 300,000 people in Dongguan contracted COVID in that city, which has a population of 10.5 million. As of Thursday, around 2,500 medical workers in the Guangdong city remained on duty, even though they had fever or tested positive for the virus. The pandemic is worsening in neighboring Macau region as well. Although the accident and emergency unit for COVID patients at this public hospital is fully occupied, a worker revealed that not everyone required immediate care.
藥房買唔到藥，上急診開嘅。
Hospital staff said some residents were there to get medication as most pharmacies had run out of stocks. Cases in the community are expected to shoot up, but at the same time, many medical workers have also contracted COVID in the casino hub. Staff who do not have fever need to work 12-hour shifts. Janice Low, HKIBC.
As the city gets ready to ring in Christmas festivities, a 5-day food festival kicked off at the Convention and Exhibition Center in Wan Chai today. The event features 600 booths in 6 exhibition areas. Long queues formed at some stalls, which sold products such as abalone and rice for a rock-bottom price of only $1. With a mask mandate still in place, food tasting is not allowed at the indoor venue. The festival runs until next Wednesday. Hong Kongers are flocking to the streets to enjoy Christmas, the first in 3 years with most COVID curbs lifted. Crowds are gathering in Lan Kwai Fong, Wan Chai, and the West Kowloon Cultural District. Janice Low reports.
Santa Claus has made it on time to Hong Kong as Christmas cheer sweeps through the city. Although he was empty-handed, it did not affect the excitement of both adults and children. At Harbour City, people gathered outside the 10-meter-tall Christmas tree not only for photo opportunity, but also to enjoy a white Christmas in Hong Kong.
Merry Christmas!
With COVID curbs relaxed, revellers are ready to flock to bars for Christmas celebrations. The Bar and Club Association revealed that many venues are fully booked for Christmas Eve tonight. Chin Chun-wing, head of the association, expects revenue to increase by 10% in the festive season, as they have received over 70% reservations for tomorrow. Although customers no longer have to show a negative RAT results upon entering bars, the cap per table remains at 6. At West Kowloon, police started a one-way pedestrian flow before 7 p.m. But it has not stopped people from flocking to appreciate the tallest Christmas tree in the city. This man, who's here with his 1-year-old kid, said he could really feel the festive spirit here. Some who do not wish to be part of the crowd chose to have a great time with their friends by setting up tents in the area.
Merry Christmas!
It's this lady's first time to enjoy the festival at the West Kowloon Cultural District. She was happy that the government has scrapped most of the restrictions for her together with her friends. Janice Low, HKIBC.
A minibus has crashed into a road safety vehicle in Tai Po, injuring 15 people. The accident occurred at around 3 a.m. as the minibus was heading to Tai Po. The driver reportedly lost control of the minibus, which rammed into the back of the other vehicle before crashing onto the curb. Firefighters had to rescue the trapped minibus driver. He and 14 passengers who suffered minor injuries were sent to hospital. Overseas, a massive winter storm gripping much of the United States has been blamed for at least 9 deaths. Several states, including New York, were forced to declare a state of emergency.
I called it a kitchen sink storm because it is throwing everything at us but the kitchen sink. We've had ice, flooding, snow, freezing temperatures, and everything that Mother Nature could wallop at us this weekend. The flash freeze and the icy roads are not going anywhere soon. This is going to be an event that's going to continue through the weekend, and the wind chills are going to be absolutely bone-chilling. That's why this is a life-threatening event.
The storm is drifting eastward from Montana to Texas. About 240 million people have been affected, with 1.5 million homes left without power as gale force winds damaged transmission lines. The coldest place was northern Montana, where the mercury plunged to minus 39 degrees Celsius. There is concern for the homeless and for migrants waiting on the southern U.S. border, as Americans shiver through their coldest Christmas in decades. More than 5,000 flights were canceled, ruining holiday plans. Kurdish leaders in France have demanded better protection for their community after 3 members were shot dead in Paris. The killings triggered violent protests in the French capital. An angry crowd clashed with police near the scene of the shooting. Police earlier arrested a 69-year-old French national on suspicion of opening fire at a Kurdish cultural center and a Kurdish cafe. He was awaiting trial for an attack on a migrant camp in Paris last year. Palestinians are welcoming tourists from around the world for Christmas in Bethlehem, where Jesus Christ was born more than 2,000 years ago.
We are celebrating Christmas this year in a very much different way than last year. Last year we celebrated during the pandemic without any pilgrim or tourists from any place in the world. This year is very much different. We're celebrating Christmas with pilgrims coming from all over the world.
Marching bands kicked off the celebrations. Security was beefed up, but there's a festive atmosphere. The highlight for Palestinian Christians and foreign pilgrims is to worship in the Church of the Nativity, which occupies the site where many believe Christ was born. Finally, to children waiting anxiously for their Christmas presents, don't worry, Santa is on his way.
When people have joyful and happy thoughts, the magic of Christmas is created. The reindeer is ready, the gifts are packed, and it's time to set off to bring Christmas joy around the world. I want to wish everyone in here and everyone around the world relaxing, peaceful, and happy Christmas.
After sending his greetings, Santa got on to his sleigh. He left behind dozens of happy revellers who traveled to northern Finland to visit a village named after him. On to the weather now. The weather tomorrow is just perfect for Christmas Day. Fine and dry with a temperature between 15 and 20 degrees. Conditions will remain the same for the rest of the long weekend. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our main news for Christmas Eve. Join me for the late news, which will be earlier tonight at 9:30. I'm Joanna Ho. All of us at HKIBC wish you a Merry Christmas.